Welcome back to the Declutter Revolution. Today's video is for anyone who has ever looked around their home and wondered, why does my space feel cramped even though I keep cleaning? Maybe your house isn't actually small, maybe it's just filled with quiet clutter you no longer notice, the kind that makes every room feel heavier and quicker to get messy again. If you watched yesterday's video, you'll remember the gentle Japanese-inspired principles we talked about. The mindset shifts that protect your mental wellness, lighten your physical load, and help you work more efficiently while still fitting beautifully into modern life. And today we're taking those principles one step further. I'm going to show you the hidden clutter inside your home, the subtle items that make your home feel more overwhelming than it should. So grab a drink and let's dive into the first area, your kitchen. Now, as we begin the hidden clutter in your kitchen, let me share how I first realized that even a beautiful kitchen can quietly accumulate things that weigh down the space. When I started paying closer attention to the way my kitchen and dining area felt, I realized that many of the things I once believed made the space pretty were actually adding layers of quiet chaos. They didn't scream for attention, but they complicated my routines in small, persistent ways. Over time, those small inconveniences grew into a feeling of heaviness every time I walked past the table or tried to prepare a meal. One of the first things I noticed was how unnecessary decorative textiles can become when a table is already a busy place. Tablecloths, runners, and placemats may look elegant in styled photos, but in everyday life, when the table holds breakfast plates, grocery bags, or the mail you haven't sorted yet, they become another surface to manage. Crumbs get trapped between layers, and wiping the table becomes a multi-step process. I used to lift one placemat after another, shaking them out and wiping beneath each one. It felt like needless work created by items that didn't actually improve my life. Then there were the decorative trays and cake stands. They were charming when I first brought them home, especially the tall tiered ones that reminded me of fancy cafes. But I rarely used them for their intended purpose. Instead, they slowly turned into resting spots for anything I didn't feel like putting away. Immediately keys, loose change, a stray receipt, a packet of painkillers. After a while, the stand itself became invisible. Buried beneath the clutter it unintentionally encouraged. The same thing happened with the display jars of pasta beans and dried corn I arranged on the kitchen shelf. They were beautiful for the first few weeks, catching the light in a lovely way. But over time, dust settled on the lids, the colors faded, and cleaning them became a burden. I even found a few insects in a jar that had been untouched for months, which made me realize that some decorative choices only work in perfectly controlled spaces, not in real homes with real routines. There were also items that didn't necessarily cause clutter but made cleaning unnecessarily difficult. Oversized vases and dramatic flower arrangements looked stunning in a showroom, yet in a real dining room they had to be lifted and relocated every single time I wiped the table. I remember one faux flower arrangement so tall that it blocked the face of the person sitting across from me. It became more of an obstacle than a decoration. The same thing happened with the big glass fruit bowl sitting at the center of the table. Most days it held nothing except a few fake apples, and moving it around during meals felt pointless. But perhaps the most surprising source of clutter came from the small things, especially the little tray I kept near the kitchen wall. It started with only a remote control but gradually attracted anything without a proper home. Old batteries expired, membership cards tangled, charging cables, folded receipts, even a pen that no longer worked. I didn't intend for it to become a magnet for randomness. It simply did one forgotten object at a time. And one day I realized that trays don't magically organize clutter. They often encourage it to stay longer than it should. And if you're ready to simplify even further, don't miss tomorrow's video, where I'll share gentle Japanese-inspired principles for creating a calmer, lighter home. It's full of practical ideas you'll genuinely use, so make sure to tune in. Once I understood what was weighing down my kitchen, I started noticing similar patterns in my living room. Next, as we move into clutter in the living room, one of the first things I confronted was my habit of using oversized or outdated decor. I once placed a tall vase filled with artificial willow branches beside the sofa because I thought it made the room look styled. Instead, those branches caught dust easily, brushed against the curtains, and even nudged the ceiling fan if someone walked too close. The vase was beautiful, yes, but it demanded constant care. I realized it wasn't supporting my life, it was complicating it. The same happened with those decorative word signs I used to love. You know the ones, live, laugh, love, home sweet home inspirational phrases in curly fonts. I had several of them clustered on a single wall. After a while, the constant messaging felt loud, almost overwhelming, as if the room was trying too hard to remind me how to feel. They didn't add warmth, they added clutter. There were also the small tables, console tables, narrow stands, tiny shelves that looked delicate and charming in catalogs, but served almost no purpose in real life. I kept one by the hallway and placed a few ornaments on it. Every time I passed, I had to be careful not to bump into it. It took up space, created another surface to dust, and didn't actually help me live better. These little realizations slowly taught me that beauty without function often becomes burden. Then there were the papers. At one point, my coffee table was stacked with large hardcover coffee table books. 5, sometimes 7 of them arranged in layers to look styled, but I rarely opened them. They collected dust, made cleaning harder, and turned the table into a display rather than something useful. A similar thing happened with magazines. I had a tall rack filled with fashion magazines dating back to 2016. I kept them because they felt nostalgic, almost like a snapshot of who I used to be. But nostalgia isn't a good enough reason to keep things that no longer serve you. The rack looked heavy and dated, and clearing it out felt like finally exhaling. I even discovered how much clutter hides on the walls. A bulletin board I hadn't updated in 6 months still covered with yellowed sticky notes and old receipts. A calendar from last year hanging quietly in a corner, reminding me how easily we overlook the things right in front of us. These items didn't take much space, but they changed how the room felt, like parts of it had been forgotten. What I learned through all these tiny moments is simple. A living room feels calmer when every object has a reason to stay. And sometimes letting go of old decor is the easiest way to bring lightness back into the space. And after clearing the shared spaces, I turn to a place that should feel restful, but often doesn't: the bedroom. Now we arrive at things that make the bedroom feel heavy. And often what makes the room feel messy isn't dirt or chaos, but the quiet clutter created by fabrics and decorations we don't actually need. For a long time, I loved layering my bed with throws and decorative pillows. They looked beautiful in photos, so I kept adding more 6, sometimes even 8, small pillows placed carefully every morning. But the truth is, none of them were used for sleeping. They just made the bed harder to make collected dust, and often ended up scattered on the floor by the end of the day. I remember standing there one morning, rearranging the same little pillows again, and suddenly wondering why I was doing it at all. That was the moment I realized pretty can sometimes become a burden. Another thing that seemed charming at first was the dust ruffle under my bed. It hid the storage boxes underneath, so I thought it made the room look neater. But dust gathered on it unbelievably fast. Washing it was inconvenient, and vacuuming under the bed became almost impossible. Instead of making the room cleaner, it trapped dirt in places I couldn't reach. The same issue happened with window decorations. I once tried frosted decals on my bedroom windows because I wanted more privacy. They covered the glass completely, and while the pattern looked soft and delicate, they blocked nearly all natural light. The room felt darker, heavier, almost airless. Even during the day, I found myself turning on lamps just to see clearly. I hadn't realized how much I depended on sunlight until it disappeared behind a layer of decorative film. These experiences taught me that simplicity in the bedroom isn't about minimalism. It's about letting the space breathe. When fabrics and decor stop overwhelming the room finally feels restful again. But clutter isn't only about furniture or decorations. Sometimes the smallest personal items can create the biggest sense of overwhelm. Moving on to beauty products become clutter. I've learned that the things we keep in our personal corners, our beauty products, perfumes, and little accessories can create a surprising amount of visual clutter without us noticing. These items often feel meaningful or special, so we hold on to them, but they quietly overwhelm the space we use every day. For years, I loved displaying my perfume bottles on an open shelf. At first, it felt elegant, almost like a miniature boutique in my bedroom. But sunlight slowly altered the scents, dust gathered on the bottle caps, and the whole shelf began to look chaotic. I had nearly 20 bottles lined up, yet I reached for the same 2 or 3 every morning. One day, while wiping off a thin layer of dust from a bottle I hadn't touched in months, I realized the display was serving the room, not me. The same thing happened with my rotating makeup organizer. I bought it because it looked practical and cute, but instead of helping me simplify it, encouraged me to keep filling empty spaces. 4 tiers quickly became crowded with products I barely remembered owning. Some expired, some dried out, some bought on impulse and never used again. It was as if the organizer itself made me believe I needed more than I truly did. And then there were the wall hooks. I used them for quick storage, but they gradually turned into a mountain of things: tote bags from old events, scarves I didn't wear anymore, ID lanyards from past jobs, hats I meant to donate. One hook ended up holding nearly 10 different items, creating a messy, sagging cluster. I walked past every day without really seeing. Through all of this, I realized that clutter doesn't always come from big objects. It often comes from the tiny things we believe don't take up space. But over time, they do, And letting go of the excess feels like letting the room breathe again. And surprisingly, some of the items that stay with us the longest are the ones meant to be temporary, seasonal pieces, and little things we forget to put away. Next, in seasonal stuff and small things, I want to share how items that once brought joy, holiday decor, sentimental pieces, tiny gadgets. I've realized that some of the most persistent clutter in my home comes from items that once felt festive or useful, but slowly lost their purpose. They linger quietly, taking up space long after their moment has passed. Seasonal decorations are a perfect example. Every year I get excited about Christmas, Lunar New Year, or even small celebrations like Halloween. I put up wreaths, lanterns, string lights, little things that make the house feel warm and joyful. But after the holiday ends, I often delay taking them down because I'm tired, busy, or simply used to seeing them. One year, I kept a Christmas wreath hanging on the door until March. The cheerful green slowly faded into a dusty olive, and it became a reminder of how easily I procrastinate. Another time, a pair of red paper lanterns stayed in my living room until June, long after the New Year atmosphere had disappeared. Instead of bringing happiness, they made the room feel stuck in a time that had already moved on. Then, there are items I store with the intention of using them someday, even though that day rarely comes. Old planners, expired calendars, and unused message boards tend to sit in corners or hang on walls without serving any real function. A calendar from 2 years ago remained on my desk simply because I liked the cover. Every time I looked at it, I felt a tiny sense of neglect, like I wasn't fully taking care of my own space. Small electronics add to the same quiet clutter. Old remotes, tangled chargers, broken cables, and random gadgets hide in drawers or trays blending into the background until the moment I try to tidy up. I once found 3 different phone chargers in a basket, none of which fit any device I owned. Keeping them didn't save me any trouble. It only made the drawer feel heavier, both physically and mentally. What I've learned is that clutter often comes from delay, the delay of letting go, of sorting, of making decisions. When I finally remove these forgotten things, the room feels lighter, as if the space is relieved to have been noticed again. Finally, we've reached bathroom items overwhelming your space. a place where clutter often builds slowly, hidden in corners, shelves, and small containers until the room no longer feels clean. It wasn't dramatic or obvious, just a slow buildup of things I kept for later until the space no longer felt fresh. Having multiple shampoos, conditioners, and body washes gave me variety, but most of them were half empty and rarely used. They lined the corners of the shower, collecting residue at the base and around the nozzles. Every time I cleaned, I had to lift each bottle wipe underneath and wonder why I kept so many versions of the same product. It amazed me how something so small could make the whole shower feel cramped. Then there were the old razors and worn-out toothbrushes hidden behind fresher ones. Some were rusty, others had bristles that had fanned out completely, yet I convinced myself they might be useful just in case. But in reality, they only added a sense of disorder objects that had overstayed their welcome, serving no purpose beyond taking up space. The same pattern appeared with my cleaning items. Towels that no longer dried properly hung heavily on the hooks, making the room feel damp and musty. I had more towels than I needed, and the excess created visual noise. Sponges, scrubbing brushes, and cleaning cloths gathered in corners, accumulating bacteria faster than I could keep track. They were meant to keep the bathroom clean, yet they often made it look messier. Storage items also played a part. A multi-tier wall rack that was supposed to keep things organized ended up amplifying the clutter, each shelf crowded with bottles I forgot I owned. A few empty plastic baskets sat on the floor holding nothing important yet occupying valuable space. Inside the vanity, expired medication and old first aid supplies mixed with broken hair tools like an old hair dryer and a razor that hadn't worked in years. These forgotten items reminded me how easy it is to let clutter hide in the background simply because the door can close on it. We've just uncovered how everyday objects from kitchen decor to bathroom supplies quietly build up and make our homes feel heavier than they should. It's often the little things we overlook that slowly take away our sense of ease. If you're craving a more breathable, intentional living space, start by noticing what no longer serves you and gently replace or remove the items that add clutter instead of comfort. Small, steady changes truly make the biggest difference. And if you want to go even deeper, I have a separate video on Japanese-inspired principles for creating a calm, uncluttered home, a gentle guide filled with practical steps that support real daily life. It's honestly one of the most helpful videos I've made, and skipping it would be such a loss for your own journey toward a peaceful space. If this video helped you, please like, share, and subscribe because you deserve a home that feels lighter every single day. And don't forget to share these tips with friends and family who might need them too.